I'm back. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Minutes with Milo show. Summertime schedule. Thursday nights at 9. Live. Thursday nights. Whoop. But last Thursday, I had to work over. Now, if you've watched any of my shows, listened to them, whatever, you realize Thursday is my Friday. And so I do the shows. But I had to work over, and I didn't get done till after 8. And I said, I'm not even going to do a show. I know. Everybody was sad. Are you okay? Things all right? Sure. But I just got in late. Couldn't get it going. Can y'all hear those dogs downstairs in the background? I don't know. They feed off each other. If you've got multiple dogs, one barks, the other goes, "Hey man, what are you barking at?" He barks again. It's like, oh well, it's got to be important. Let me bark too. And then the third one chimes in. What are y'all barking about? Let me bark too. It's crazy. Then they all look at each other. What are you barking about? Well, no, you was barking first. No, that was him. He barked first. So it goes on like that all night long. Well, hey Garthok, don't say all night long. If I was down there, I'd tell them, shut up. And they'd look at me and go like, what? What'd we do? You're barking your fool head off and nothing's out there. They think there's something outside. They're hoping there's something outside. That would be more exciting than what's inside. But we're not talking about dog barks tonight. We're talking about making electricity by squishing things. And we looked at this the other day at work because it just popped into my head. And I've thought about it before. If you've ever had a gas grill, there's Robert. Hey, Robert. If you had a gas grill that you bought and you had to put together, and you've got this long wire with a button on one end and a little, where's my camera? A little eek on the other end. It's got a space in between it. You position it just right under the burners. And when you turn the gas on, you go clunk, 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 clunk. And then when the gas hits the spark, it goes off. When you're pushing that little button, it jumps the little bitty gap and makes a spark, and that's what ignites your propane. Now, I don't know what, there's no batteries. You don't charge them. You don't change them. You just push the button. And it goes clunk, clunk. And it makes that spark. So I was wondering what made that. So it's piezoelectricity. I think I'm saying that right. And I thought, well, that's almost free, you know. Can it be used for other things? Well, yes, it can. But I don't know why. I've had the gas grill I've got now for a long time, and it still works. But inevitably, it stops working, and I don't know why. I don't know if the gap gets too big or it loses its little cheeky thump thing. I don't know. But then you end up buying one of them silly lighters. It's really long. Trying to find a hole up underneath. You reach up underneath the gas grill and you click, 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 get the lighter going, and you got to turn the gas on and wave it around in there and hope you don't blow your face off. But you can buy replacements. No, that thing goes out, buddy. I just get the lighter out, stick it in there, and then from then on. Now, here's a little trick that you can do. If you have spaghetti, the long things of spaghetti, you take your lighter and you light the end of the spaghetti. Of course, you got to hold it up, so it burns up a little bit, gets a flame, and then you ease it in between the grill and you turn the gas on, and then you can work it from the top. But if you don't be easy, it either goes out or breaks, and you got to light it again. But tonight we're going to look at piezoelectricity. When was it discovered? Who did it? What makes it work? I mean, can you, I don't know, you can do all kinds of things with it. Now, me and Roberto, we talked about this, but it wasn't piezoelectricity, I don't think. You ever seen those old movies where they hook some wires to the dynamite and then they run back and they put the wires on top of this old wooden box? It's got a T handle on it and they go, and then the dynamite goes boom. Robert thinks the wiring corrodes on the igniter after a while. Probably. I mean, it's definitely got to have to do with the fact that the grills are outside now. I have to cover. It makes the grill last longer, the box. But humidity and age and all that stuff, like you're saying. And then heat. Those things got to be really close to the fire to make them work. And that just made me think of something else. Of course, it's in a camper. If y'all have a camper, I had a big one, sold it. But anyway, I had a big camper. And the refrigerator was electric and gas. Now, I had a pop-up, and it had 12-volt electric and gas. But anyway. So when you turn my big refrigerator over to gas, you could hear it in there going tick, 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 tick. Now, I don't think that was piezo. I think that was like a 12-volt igniter. But I know the stove in the camper was a piezoelectric igniter because you turn it on and then there was a button off to the side. You turn it on to, I guess, pilot. You'd hold the button in and you'd go clunk, clunk, almost just like a gas grill. And then when the gas come out, it would ignite it. But I don't think the refrigerator worked on the same thing. I think it had because it was tick, 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 and then it would stop and then it would do 3 or 4 clicks until the refrigerator propane ignited. And then, it's really cool that you can make cold air in the refrigerator by heating the back side of the refrigerator with gas. Blows my mind. But that's a topic for a different story. A topic for a different show. So, before we really get into it, just go ahead and hit the like button because I know you're going to love it. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you do that, you might as well turn the little notification bell on so when I put out a notification that I've got a video up or the show's getting ready to start, it'll go ding, 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 or maybe it goes buzz, 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 whatever your particular device does. But go ahead and do that now. I will wait. Okay, you're done. So, we're going to do our normal deal. We're going to go to the window capture. Now, I don't have this set up beforehand. You know I don't. Never do. Where's my thing? Where is it? There it is. All right, so let's go here. That shrinks me down. What happened to that? There it is. Woo! All right, so this big thing here is the first one, I think. So let's look at piezoelectricity. We're frequenting the Wikipedia again. When you ask questions, it's pretty much the first thing that comes up. So why not use it? Now they ask you for money, and I wish I could support them, but I'm not earning any money doing this. But let's look at this. So piezoelectricity is an electric charge that accumulates in certain solid materials, all right, such as crystals, certain ceramics, and biological matter such as bone and DNA. Now, I thought that was pretty interesting, and various proteins. All right, let's read on. Then I've got a question about those biological matter things. In response to applied mechanical stress. resulting from pressure and latent heat. Now right there, we're going to go back to this biological matter, bone, DNA, and various proteins. So it's telling me that an electrical charge accumulates in solid materials such as bone, DNA, and various proteins. Now, to activate this, apparently, you need pressure and latent heat. Well, how come our body don't explode or catch fire when we jump up and down? I mean, the bone's getting compressed and your body's warm for latent heat. I wonder why that is. Does the bone have to be alive? Like you can't just go and find you a skeleton in a deer skeleton or whatever it might be in your woods and crush it and make electricity? I don't think you can. Where do they think? I don't understand that part of it. And, DNA. I just don't really think, of course, I've never messed with DNA. I guess it's solid. They say it's solid right there. All right. So the word piezoelectricity means electricity resulting from pressure and latent heat. It's derived from an ancient Greek piezio, to squeeze or press. I guess maybe if you hook wires to your bone and then slammed it with a hammer, maybe. I'm not going to try it. You may ask and beg, but I ain't going to try it. All right, then it talks about the German thing for the word. Oh, I need to be over here. All right. All right, so the German word was coined in 1881 by the German physicist. The English word was coined in 1883. Right? Garthog says some electric cigarette lighters have that. That's true because I bought one, the clicky kind, because I thought it might work better. I talked about when the piezo igniter goes off on your gas grill, you buy one of those electric lighters, right? And it's got one of those. You squeeze the trigger. Sometimes you have to hold the safety thumb switch down. You squeeze the trigger, and at the end, it's got one of those little wires that stick out at the nozzle, and it goes tick, 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 and it's supposed to light it. Those things, they work when they're new. Then you're supposed to be able to refill them. So then I bought one that looks like a little propane torch. It's about that big. Same deal. You click, 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 and it fires up. It's got two little, burners on it. Worked good for a while. First time I turned that thing up and refilled it with butane, done. Didn't work ever again. You have to use a lighter, like one of them scratch lighters that makes the spark. You know the kind, the old kind. You roll it with your thumb and the sparks shoot out and it lights the flame. To light that stupid thing. That's stupid. All right, so the piezoelectric effect results from linear electromechanical interaction between mechanical and electrical states in crystalline material with no inversion symmetry. Yeah, the sparky kind uses a flint. You roll that metal, they're always rough, knurled, people like to call it. Rub that against a flint, and steel and flint make sparks. So, with no inversion symmetry. And that's right here. So let's see what this, in crystallography, oh my gosh, a centrosymmetric point group contains an inversion center as one of the symmetry elements. In such a point group, for every point in the unit cell, there's an extinguishing point. What's that all about? You look at that to try to get a little more information and trying to figure out what they're saying by inversion symmetry. And my gosh, that's just too much just to even find out what that means. I need to find out what that is before I can find out what that means. It's a vicious cycle. So let's skip that. Piezoelectric effect is a reversible process. Materials exhibiting the piezoelectric effect also exhibit the reverse piezoelectric effect, the internal generation of a mechanical strain resulting from an applied electric field. All right, so I think what it's saying is you squeeze the thing and it makes electricity. Now, if you reverse that and put electric on the other end, does the thing expand? That would be the reverse, right? So let's see what it says here. Where did it go? Lead zero. I wish I knew how to read English. Lead zirconate titanate crystals will generate measurable piezoelectricity when their static structure is deformed by about 0.1% of the original dimension. So you're squishing it. Conversely, those same crystals will change about 0.1% of their static dimension when an external electric field is applied. The inverse piezoelectric effect is used in the production of ultrasound waves. So I was right. To me, Robert was right. He was a Cub Scout, and he stayed at a Holiday Inn. It's supposed to be a Holiday Inn Express. You're not really smart unless you stayed in the Holiday Inn Express last night. So you're half smart. You stayed in the Holiday Inn. So it says that it will change about the same amount, 0.1% of its static dimension. So to me, static dimension is this pencil has a static dimension. So if this is one of them crystals and you squished it 0.1%, it would make electricity. If you put electricity on the other end of it, it grows 0.1%. Now, I don't know how that makes ultrasound waves, but that's not why we're here. We're talking about igniting fire, not some kind of ultrasound waves. We want to make fire. So the French physicist Jacques and Pierre Curie discovered piezoelectricity in 1880. Piezoelectric effect has been explored in many useful applications, including the production and detection of sound. Interesting. Piezoelectric inkjet printing. Pretty cool. Generation of high voltage electricity, such as a clock generator. Let's see. What is a clock generator? Let's open that in a new tab. And we'll look at that. Here we go. A clock generator is an electronic oscillator that produces a clock signal for use in synchronizing a circuit's operation. The signal can range from a simple symmetrical square wave to a more complex arrangement. The basic parts that all clock generators share are the resonant circuit and an amplifier. Interesting. The resonant circuit is usually a quartz piezoelectric oscillator, although simpler tank circuits and even RC circuits can be used. So right here is a desktop PC clock generator based on the chip at 14.3 megahertz resonator. And that's this thing it says on the left. Interesting. So that's probably the little thing that helps you keep time on your computer and keeping everything going frequency-wise. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we know it's used in computers. Okay. Generation of high voltage electricity is a clock generator in electronic devices. In microbalances to drive an ultrasonic nozzle and an ultrafine focusing of optical assemblies. It forms the basis for scanning probe microscopes that resolve images at the scale of atoms. Now, I don't know how they take this little thing that you go click, click, and it lights your gas grill and convert it and use that for scanning probe microbes that resolve images at the scale of atoms. I mean, that's teeny tiny, teeny tiny, teeny tiny. I was just thinking maybe it'd be cool that you could do it with a model rocket. You know, if you've ever done model rockets, you know, you put the probes on the rocket engine, the clips, and you run this really long wire out, and it takes like D-cell batteries or something, and you arm it, and then you have a little thing that you turn, and that sends electricity through the wires into the engine of the rocket, which creates the spark, you know, ignites the solid rocket boosters, and shoots that puppy like, man, 200 feet in the air. It's crazy. I was just wondering if you could do that with, you know, just a clicker. Not trying to make, you know, take pictures of atoms or nothing. My brain's too simple for that. All right, it's used in pickups from some electric amplified guitars and as triggers in most modern electronic drums. So, the way I see that is, you know, electronic drums have a pad. And when you hit it with the drumstick, it takes that force and converts it into electricity, then it's converted into sound. So if you have the headphones on and you're playing the drums, how hard you hit it, where you hit it, and all that stuff makes different sounds. So apparently, somehow they're using piezoelectricity to make that work. Piezoelectric effects also find everyday uses such as generating sparks to ignite gas cooking grills and heating devices, torches, and cigarette lighters. But oh, do you see what I see? So here we are. We're talking about piezoelectric devices, and it says that it can be used to, you know, work cigarette lighters. And then when you hover over what a cigarette lighter looks like, look what picture they give you. I'll just make my point here and then we'll move on. Look, it's got the little scroll wheel, the little wheel where it's flint and steel. They don't even show you. See, here's another one. That's a flint and steel lighter. What? They should show you lighters that relates to what you're looking at. Now I know it's a cigarette lighter, but you know, why not show me something? If I follow a link from a piezoelectric site, it should show me a piezoelectric ignited lighter. That's all I'm saying. Let's just stay together. Hold hands, form a line, cross the street. Let's all stay together. So here's the history. Now there's that big thing we saw at the top. Of course, I don't know if it's big. I don't know. Somebody needs to put their thumb in there to give me some scale. All right. Pyroelectric effect, by which a material generates an electric potential in response to a temperature change, was studied by Carl Linnaeus and Franz Aepinus in the mid-18th century. Drawing on this knowledge, both René Justus Hall and Annette Simple-Goudet postulated a relationship between mechanical stress and electric charge. However, experiments by both proved inconclusive. Let's see, what are we talking about in the chat here? Like quartz would be more valuable. Mystical crystals, yeah, quartz just have a power of their own. Just carry them around in your pocket, feel good. Store info, all kinds of uses. So Robert's saying that you can store information in quartz. Is that what you're saying? The man is messing with you. Robert's on his own tangent. Do you think you can store information in a crystal, quartz crystal? I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it. I heard they can store, supposedly. Now, I've heard stories that they can actually write information and store information in human DNA. That human DNA is like a hard drive. I've heard that. Maybe one day we'll look at that. All right, so these guys couldn't prove the pyroelectric effect. So the first demonstration of the direct piezoelectric effect was in 1880 by the brothers Pierre Curie and Jack Curie. They combined their knowledge of pyroelectricity with their understanding of the underlying crystal structures that gave rise to pyroelectricity to predict crystal behavior. I'm always blown away by what these dudes did before, before you had electric lights and running water in your house. For one thing, first question, were these dudes independently wealthy? I mean, that might explain some things that, mama and daddy, granddaddy, papa, whatever, had a bunch of money. And these two dudes, they didn't have to work. They could just go to school and read books and learn how to think outside the box and have a laboratory and get these crystals and smack them with hammers or heat them up in the potbelly stove. Whatever they were doing here, I could see that. But if these guys had to work down at the loading dock, unloading, sailing ships for coffee and tobacco, when did they have time to do these experiments? And how did they make such elaborate things? Like this little device here, it looks like it's made out of brass and wood. Where was their mind? Check out 5D storage material. All right, let's just humor Robert. See what he's got going on here. Now, this ain't going to take me to some kind of sniffy scratch thing, is it? 5D storage. I know. I've got to look at the keyboard. Be quiet. I'm typing. Now, see, you made me mess up. Material. Oh, fused silica. Wouldn't that Toyota make that back in the 80s, the fused silica? Instead of relying on reflective lines etched into plastic, those like CDs and DVDs, 5D storage uses dots that are imprinted at multiple layers with fused silica. Each dot contains a series of pits or gratings that store the data. Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, I swear fused silica was what the Toyota, they made those back in the 80s. Berlinite. Quartz glass. How about Pyrex? Let's talk about something I know a little bit about. Yeah, the fused silica. Sports car. All right. Back to it. Where were we? The first demonstration, the combiner knowledge of that, demonstrated effects using crystals. All right, back up. Structures that gave rise to pyroelectricity to predict crystal behavior and demonstrated the effect using crystals of tourmaline, quartz, topaz, cane sugar. Is that a crystal? I guess it is. And Rochelle salt. Sodium, potassium tartarite trihydride, quartz, and Rochelle salt exhibited the most piezoelectricity. So there's your quartz, it's playing a big part. The Curies, however, did not predict the converse piezoelectric effect. The converse effect was mathematically deducted from the fundamental thermodynamic principles by Gabriel Lippmann in 1881. The Curies immediately confirmed the existence of the converse effect and went on to obtain quantitative proof of the complete reversibility of electromechanical deformations in piezoelectric crystals. All right, so see this little thing here, it's moving. A piezoelectric disc generates a voltage when deformed. Change in shape is greatly exaggerated. So this shows it doing like a bellows so that it looks bigger. You know, you can understand it. We're going to look at those clickers here in a minute and see where does the crystal in those little push button things. Where does it reside? Maybe they're not using crystal. Probably using some kind of mass-produced material that, you know, then they can make, you know, all the time. All right, as we go on. For the next few decades, piezoelectricity remained something of a laboratory curiosity, though it was a vital tool in the discovery of plutonium and radium by Pierre and Marie Curie in 1898. More work was done to explore and define the crystal structures that exhibited piezoelectricity. This culminated in 1910 with the publication of Waldemar Vogelt's textbooks on crystal physics, which described the 20 natural crystal classes capable of piezoelectricity and rigorously defined the piezoelectric constants using tensor analysis. These people have to be rich. Either that or they're eating the bubble gum off somebody's shoe somewhere. I mean, they're either flat poor, you know, or Robert's own cars, Berlinetta G. Chevy made the Berlinetta, didn't it? Huh? What made the G? All right. Now we're getting interesting. World War I and interwar years. The first practical application for piezoelectric devices was sonar, first developed during World War I. The superior performance of piezoelectric devices operating at ultrasonic frequencies superseded the earlier Fresnel oscillator. In France in 1917, Paul Langevin and his co-workers developed an ultrasonic submarine detector. The detector consisted of a transducer, made of thin quartz crystals, carefully glued between two steel plates, and a hydrophone to detect the returning echo. By emitting a high-frequency pulse from the transducer and measuring the amount of time it takes to hear an echo from the sound waves bouncing off an object, one can calculate the distance to that object. Fact, that works. The use of piezoelectricity in sonar and the success of that project created intense development interest in piezoelectric devices. Over the next few decades, new piezoelectric materials and new applications for those materials were explored and developed. It's always about weapons. Yeah, I mean, that's no secret. You know, they discover all kinds of cool things when they're trying to kill a bunch of people in wartime. They come up with all kinds of crazy things. All right, so World War II. During World War II, independent research groups in the United States, USSR, and Japan discovered a new class of synthetic material called ferroelectrics, which exhibited piezoelectric constants many times higher than natural materials. And I bet that's what's in the clicker. This led to intense research to develop barium titanate and later lead zicarbonate titanate materials with specific properties for particular applications. One significant example of the use of piezoelectric crystals was developed by Bell Telephone Laboratories, there we go, following World War I. Working at a radio telephone in the engineering department, developed the AT cut crystal. a crystal that operated through a wide range of temperatures. Lax crystal did not need the heavy accessories previous crystals used, facilitating its use on aircraft. This development allowed Allied air forces to engage in coordinated mass attacks through the use of aviation radio. Wow. Lots of stuff. Okay. Let's jump over here real quick because we've been reading this stuff for 30 minutes and I'm bored. I know everybody else is bored. Let's see what this is. How does the piezoelectric effect work with sensors and motors? We're going to look at some of the things that, how does this work? Probably there's no more popular application of the piezoelectric effect than a high voltage power source in electric cigarette lighters, gas grills. In these cases, a hammer strikes a piece of piezo material, which then produces enough current to create a spark that ignites a flammable gas in its presence. However, in other applications like sensor, the hammer is an exciter of the piezo material, is typically replaced by other forms of energies like sound waves, including ultrasound. When they're put to work in sensors, piezo materials can detect even some of the most minute disturbances and anomalies, which makes them ideal devices in industrial non-destructive testing and medical imaging. In other instances, piezoelectric motors can perform highly precise and repeatable movements. This ability makes them excellent devices for the precision movements of sensitive optical devices like telescopes and microscopes. I still don't understand how they apply that to a microscope. What are the disadvantages and advantages? Compared to other electronic components, piezoelectric devices have several advantages as well as some disadvantages. Yin and yang, of course. The advantages: no external power source required. Good job. Easy installation. Yes. Responsive to high frequencies. Okay. Highly flexible materials. Most piezo materials can be constructed in a wide variety of shapes and sizes, so they're highly useful across various applications and fields. Yeah, I thought that was the same kind of technology, the piezo tweeter. No, that's a piezo tweaker. Piezo tweakers, not tweeters, tweakers. All right, so disadvantages. They have a small amount of electric charge. Though self-generating, piezo materials produce fairly small electrical charges, which means a high impedance cable is required to connect them to the electrical interface. Environmental conditions affect performance. Output is relatively low. While some piezo materials produce more output than others, they're all relatively low. For their use to be optimized, an external circuit will often be required. Oh, so if you have an LS engine and it has a NOx sensor, this is one of the applications for piezoelectric material. So, engine manufacturers are constantly facing challenges related to control of the engine parameters. Under the wrong circumstances, gasoline engines are susceptible to an undesired phenomenon known as detonation. When detonation occurs, air-fueled charge explodes instead of burning smoothly, thereby damaging the engine. Historically, this is why most manufacturers design engines with conservative operational margins at the expense of efficiency. With the development of better control systems, the relevant engine parameters may be adjusted in real time to maximize efficiency and power. If detonation begins to occur, piezoelectric NOx sensors can be employed to sense the detonation before it becomes problematic. This gives control systems time to take required adjustments. Pressure sensors. In nearly any application require the measurement of dynamic pressure changes Using piezoelectric pressure sensors yields more reliable results than using conventional electromechanical pressure sensors. This is because piezoelectric devices have a high frequency response and signal conversion without requiring any bellows, diaphragm, or any other type of mechanical linkage in conjunction with a strain gauge or displacement sensor. Medical applications. What are the uses of piezoelectric sensors in medical applications? First, bolded. Let's do this. I know. First bolded thing is diesel fuel injectors. That has nothing to do with medical applications. Fast response solenoids, optical adjustments, ultrasonic cleaning. Piezoelectric actuators are also used for ultrasonic cleaning applications. To perform ultrasonic cleaning, objects are immersed in a solvent, water, alcohol, acetone, etc. The piezoelectric transducer then agitates the solvent. Many objects with inaccessible surfaces can be cleaned using this methodology. Oh, ultrasonic welding. This is as good as okay, yep. Tweeter hits the high notes in speakers. Like a Tweety bird, a Twitter bird, a tweeter bird, tweeter bird. Alright, ultrasonic welding. Many plastics, okay, can be joined together using a process also known as ultrasonic welding. This type of process requires ultrasonic waves to be transmitted to a focused area where they can cause pieces of plastic to fuse together. Frequently, piezoelectric actuators are used to accomplish this task. Stack actuators, I don't know what that is. Stripe actuators, medical application. Now we're into medical. Ultrasonic imaging. Piezoelectric transducers are often used in medical ultrasound equipment. Procedures. What are the uses of piezoelectric actuators in consumer electronics? With printers. A dot matrix printer. In a piezoelectric dot matrix printer, piezoelectric actuator in the printer head moves the needle-like pins that poke through the strip of ink tape against a piece of paper in various patterns to form characters. In an inkjet printer, in a piezoelectric inkjet printer, piezoelectric, man, how many times am I going to say piezoelectric? Actuators in the printer's head act on small diaphragms or otherwise change the geometry of an inkwell so that ink droplets are forced out of the orifice onto the paper. Speakers. Here you go. Piezoelectric speakers are featured in virtually every application that needs to effectively produce sound from a small electronic gadget. These type of speakers are usually inexpensive and require little power to produce relatively large sound volumes. Thus, piezoelectric speakers are often found in devices as cell phones, earbuds, sound-producing toys, musical greeting cards, I've had some of those, and balloons. All right. The buzzers, piezoelectric buzzers, are similar to the speakers, but they're usually designed with low fidelity to produce a louder volume over a narrower frequency range. Buzzers are used in seemingly endless array of devices, including alarms, medical, pen pads, key fobs, alarm clocks, wristwatch alarms, fire alarms, carbon monoxide detectors. Oh yeah, all those kind of things. They got all kinds of stuff, man. I thought you could just light your gas grill with these things, but apparently you can go to the moon with them too. Many acoustic electric string instruments utilize piezoelectric pickups to convert an acoustic vibration to electric signals. All right. There's the igniter. Perhaps this is the most well-known ambiguous use of piezoelectric. What they're telling me is I'm dumb for just thinking, oh man, piezoelectricity igniting my gas grill, that's pretty cool. Huh. They're saying this is the dumbest thing you could use them for. A button or trigger is used to cock and release a spring-loaded hammer, and the hammer is used to strike a rod-shaped piezoelectric ceramic. The sudden mechanical shock to the piezoelectric ceramic produces a rapid rise in voltage that is high enough to jump a sizable spark gap and ignite fuel. Commonly used for butane lighters, gas grills, gas stoves, blow torches, and improvised potato cannons. Makes sense. Microelectronic mechanical systems have become more commonplace as more integrated capabilities are required in smaller packages, such as cell phones, tablet computers, etc. The advantages of MwM's devices is that gyroscopes, accelerometers, and internal measuring devices can be integrated into chip-sized packages. In order to accomplish such a feat, piezoelectric actuators and sensors are often used. All right, so I read this ahead. Tennis rackets. A somewhat unusual application for piezoelectricity integrates piezoelectric fibers into the throat of a tennis racket along with a microcontroller in the handle. When the tennis player strikes the ball, the racket frame deflects and generates an electric output that is boosted, reversed, and fed back into the fibers. This is an attempt to cause destructive interference and dampening structural vibration. In the strings or in the handle? Seems like that would be cheating. I don't know. Maybe all the pros are using it. Maybe all the cool kids are using it. I don't know. Micro robotics. Oh, here we go. Futuristic stuff. Course changing bullets. Recently, DARPA invented a 50 caliber bullet that can change course in mid-flight. As absurd as this invention may sound to some readers, the bullet uses an optical sensor that is mounted on its nose in conjunction with a control system and movable tail fins to steer itself towards a laser illuminated target. Although DARPA has not revealed much about their extreme accuracy task ordnance bullet, the most likely means of manipulating the tail fins probably involves piezoelectric actuators. Now, years ago, I saw a movie that had Gene Simmons in it. Now, shout out if you know the name of this, because I can't remember the name of it. But in this movie, they had smart bullets. And I don't think it was laser guided. I think it was facial recognition they used. So basically, what? Garthog's always been fascinated with making perpetual energy machine. Even tried once, failed of course. If I had been successful, I'd been a gazillionaire. Right. You could time travel if you could do that too. Scrap bicycle, car battery, alternator, electric motor should have worked, right? No. Maybe the crystal of quartz is the missing link. Maybe it is. Is it Runaway with Tom Selleck? Let's look at that. I think you're right. Did you look that up? Or should I give you props for knowing it right off the top of your head? Gene Simmons was the bad guy. Ooh, Tom's looking good, man. Let's look at this trailer. It's 84. Here we go. Let me know. Let me turn this up. Got any sound? Sound.
Why did Jack quit the regular force?
Yeah, why'd he quit, Marvin?
What'd he tell you?
He tell me because of vertigo, but I don't believe him.
A few years back, Jack was chasing this guy. Bad guy. This guy ran into a building that was under construction. Jack freaked out, started sweating, couldn't follow him. The guy got away. Later that night, that same guy killed 6 people.
Is that why he's a robot expert?
It's always on his mind. The guy that got away.
Retinal identification is now being carried out. You know anything about robotics and computers?
Jack, look at this. You've heard of a bullet that has your name on it? You see that red stripe? It's not a regular commercial chip. This isn't a runaway. This is murder.
He's killed 5 so far. I want him. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm going in.
You're going in. We can send a disarm robot.
It'll hit the disarm, and any minute it's going to decide to hit the kid.
Hey, you got that floater yet?
Programming it now, sir.
Didn't you ever want to work for the regular force?
This is the regular force.
I sort of fell into it by accident. And I kind of liked it, so I took some night courses in robotics, APL, that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, I just seemed to know more about it than anybody else.
Just beautiful.
I'm glad you're satisfied, Dr. Luther.
Satisfied? I'm delighted. I'm ecstatic.
It's good. Good.
Where are the chips?
Damn evil son of a bitch.
These aren't all the chips. And we're the templates to make more.
Oh yeah, the little robotic spider thing too. Badass.
Runaway. Tom Selleck. Cynthia Rhodes. Gene Simmons. Runaway.
You can't run away, Ramsey. I'll find you.
So there you go. Runaway. Tom Selleck. I remember that. The chick was pretty. What other movie was she in? I know we get sidetracked, but anyway. So, yeah, you saw where they cut it down the middle and opened it up, and it had a solid rocket booster type engine in it, and then it was facial recognition. You programmed it to track down and kill one person. So, and then those little robots were pretty cool too. They were like spiders everywhere in that movie. That was pretty wild. All right, so piezoelectric does more than my brain can wrap around. So I'm just going to say I like it because it lights my gas grill. I like it because it continuously grills my hamburgers and steaks. And man, what'd I do to my hair? I was watching that Tom Selleck. I got all scared. Pulled my hair. What's Robert doing? Dashes and O's, ones and zeros. What's that say, Robert? I don't know. I don't remember when it was, but back sometime years and years and years ago, if you were a computer geek, you could buy a tie that was all ones and zeros, and it actually said something. Not visually, but if you knew machine language, the tie was written in machine language. It's like the very, very basic, like you're talking about, binary, ones and zeros. And it just had a crazy pattern. And was it true? I don't know. But they sold some of them. Sold them enough probably to make it worth their while. Then they moved on to the Pet Rocky, all that stuff. All right, so piezoelectric. If you squish the material, it makes electricity. If you put electricity to it, it does the opposite. It grows in size or changes shapes or whatever. So, piezo tweeters, piezo igniters. It never did really say. One quick question. How much voltage does a piezo I'm not going to show you what I typed. Oh, okay. I typed, how much voltage does a piezo igniter make? Most igniters run a high voltage of about 800 volts. That's a lot of volts. Going through such a small opening produce electricity. Right? So, would it shock you? Yeah, it would. Would it kill you? Probably not. Because the amperage is not there. So Robert wants to know, is if you hooked up a big old piezo igniter to a water mill, could you create electricity for your house? Yes. So if you had a water wheel the size of your house, and you live next to a river the size of the Mississippi, and you had 2.5 million piezoelectric igniters wired together so that as the wheel turned, it slapped each one in unison or maybe a bunch together, and you pump that into your house, and there you'd have it. You'd have to store it. I guess it's DC, direct current, because I guess in some way you could make a piezo generator that was constant voltage, instead of fluctuating DC voltage. So, Garthod talked about the perpetual motion machine. Right. As I always do, I come up here, I set up my show, and then I just blindly scroll through YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all my accounts just to see what's going on. So on one of them, and I can't remember if it was Instagram or if it was on Facebook, this guy took a fan, like off just, an electric motor fan that might be on a refrigerator motor to cool the coil or whatever. Just one of those sheet metal fans, 3 or 4 blade, very light, made of aluminum. And he put it through a board, and I'm assuming on a very good ball bearing. So the shaft went through the board. One side was the fan. On the other side, he bent it up and out like a hand crank. Then he had 3 nails on the back of the board, I think maybe even on a crossboard. But anyway, he took a rubber band, and they were equally spaced like a triangle. So he hooked a rubber band from one nail to the handle, to the other handle, to the handle. So they were offsetting each other, and as he put each rubber band on it, you could tell the blade kind of twitched because one was pulling, and the other pulled it back, and then the third one pulled it another way until it stabilized. Then he took WD-40 and sprayed it all over the hand crank where the rubber bands were. And he gave the fan a spin, and then that made the handle start to spin. Well, it pulled this way on one rubber band and gave it slack, or gave one rubber band slack while it pulled on the other. Then that one pulled back. And the next thing you know, the fan is spinning by itself, and it's like a crank, and the rubber bands were push, pull, push, 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 pull, 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 all that stuff. And the thing spun around. Now, would it run forever? Probably not. Would it run until one rubber band lost more elasticity than the other, and therefore it was offset? Yes, I bet it would. So, Garthog, that's what I want you to do. Get one of those little old fans. Get your really good bearing setup that fits the shaft. Because in the board was the bearing, and he ran the shaft through the center. Then he had that little 90-degree bend on it at the end. And 3 rubber bands. You spin it one time, and it ran. So, well, a perpetual motion machine does not have to produce more energy than it takes to operate. It just has to produce the same amount of energy. So if it takes 2 gigawatts to run, it must produce 2 gigawatts while it was running. And therefore, it's self-perpetuating. It makes as much as it uses. It doesn't have to make more. You just have to make the same amount to keep it going. So as long as there's no external forces against it, right? That balance should stay forever if you could make it happen. And so, but that was pretty cool. Nope, has to produce more to last to infinity. Why? Why does it have to produce more? I don't know. Like I said, if it takes 2 gigawatts to run and it produces 2 gigawatts. Now, yeah, you get your drag and you get all that kind of stuff. But that's all calculated into how much it takes to run. Now, as things start to break down, yes, after, let's say, 5 years, instead of taking 2 gigawatts to run it, maybe it takes 2.5 gigawatts because now the bearings are running down. Age is starting to take effect. So that's where, it would still, then it would have to produce 2.5 instead of its original 2. So it just can't be done. Not yet, anyway. Not yet. No such thing as free energy. So you think you have to, Garthog, you agree with Garthog on making it run to infinity. Well, if it doesn't start to break down and it never needs more than 2 gigawatts to run, I just think you'd have to just have to make 2 gigawatts all the time. If nothing ever changed, if no other forces acted upon it, it could run indefinitely on making its own 2 gigawatts of power. Only when other forces acted upon it to make it need more or require more would it have to, produce more. you're working on it to make perpetual motion. I still think even in space things break down. That's why I like the magnet process, where it's suspended not by physical bearings, but by magnetic, forces. But still yet, when you say the word forces, then right there you lose all hopes of ever having, an ever running machine, because there's forces acting upon it, even though they're not physically touching. Magnetically, they are touching, and so you spin it one time. I don't know what the longest self-perpetuating machine has ever ran. I don't know. But I like the one with the rubber bands, because that makes sense. Until the rubber bands start to wear out and start to lose their elasticity, or the bearings, get wore out, whatever might happen, I would be interested to see if it would run for 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 months. I don't know. But nothing's for free. Nothing's for free. There's my little thing again. I found it once again. I lost that one that I printed. I won't have to print another one. Anyway, all right, everybody. Everybody being Roberto and Garthok. Appreciate you coming. Sorry I wasn't there last week, but perpetual motion is the motion of bodies that continues forever in an unperturbed system. Is that your definition, or is that scientific? I don't know if unperturbed is a super scientific notion, word, right? Robert's quoting, who was it? Sir Isaac Newton. A body in motion tends to stay in motion until it's acted upon by some other force. So like you're rolling a tire down the hill, and it'll stay rolling down the hill as long as the hill's there, until it hits that tree, or it hits that gopher poking his head up going, what's that noise I hear? And then it's thrown off its course, and the time continuum veers off to some other point in history while everything else goes on straight. All right. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment how you used your piezoelectricity machine to make perpetual motion machines, and how you're going to time travel and all that. I'd really like to hear your stories. Then I can get you on the show and you can tell your stories here. So, thanks everybody. Tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Same Milo time, same Milo channel. There, that's not copyright infringement, so don't worry about it. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to stop. Where's the stop? There it is. See, I missed 1 week show, and I forget to even control how to control this thing.